Good morning. This is Darrell Gunter, your host for Leadership on WSOU 89.5 FM and streaming on the net at WSOU.net. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are in for a real treat because we have Professor Rongbing Lee, who is from Hong Kong, and he is going to educate us about intellectual capital. Rongbing, welcome to the program. Thank you for making time to chat with us about intellectual capital.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you all.
So if you could, before we jump into intellectual capital, and you have some very interesting stories of real case studies to share with us, can you share with our audience a little bit about your education and background?
You mean about the stories of intellectual capital?
Let's start first with your education and your background.
Oh, education.
Yes.
Okay. Well, actually, I am educated as an engineer, right? In industrial and systems engineering. You know what's industrial engineering?
Yes.
That is used to be called actually the scientific management in the old days. It started with the scientific management. Well, no, I was trained as a mechanical engineer, but later, I then moved to design, and then logistics, and then finally, I found my interest in knowledge management. Actually, knowledge management is very related to intellectual capital. Actually, I start the first knowledge management research center in Hong Kong about 15 years ago, almost the only one in Hong Kong. And give some chance, I met Professor Dave Evanson. I think you know Dave Evanson.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We had him on a program last week.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. He's called the father, but I'm not sure whether I should call him grandfather now. The father of intellectual capital management. I met him in Paris in an IC Intellectual Capital Committee at the World Bank annual event. So that's where my interest in IC started.
Wow, that is awesome. And so if you could, before we jump into some great case studies and stories that you have for us, could you give us your definition of what is intellectual capital?
Well, I think many people have defined IC in this interview, but maybe I try to do the other way around. I try to say how knowledge management is related to IC, and then you can find what is the meaning of IC from my perspective. Well, actually, I would like to use very classical definition of W.B. What is knowledge management? That's KM. Well, KM is the art of creating commercial value from intellectual asset. So there'll be two concerns of knowledge management. This first one is how to maximize your intellectual capital. And second one is what? How to change the human capital to structural capital, which can be reserved, right, in enterprise. And also how to build, now, one very important, the relation capital by connecting the staff, the knowledge worker, the generators, and all the stakeholders. So I think from this aspect, we tend to understand more about the role of intellectual capital. So this is my simple understanding of what is IC.
Well, years ago in the late 80s, knowledge management was a huge topic, and it had a lot of promise. But then in some respects, people felt that the promise wasn't delivered. So knowledge management fell out of favor. But now that intellectual capital is starting to gain momentum, and intellectual capital, to your point, builds upon knowledge management, I guess we're going to see a resurgence of knowledge management. If you could, let's jump into some of the case studies that you would like to share with us about intellectual capital and knowledge management.
Actually, you're right. How to start intellectual capital management. Well, actually, you can start intellectual capital practices from many perspectives. It really depends on what is your background, your profession, right? Of course, if you're an accountant, then of course you can go straight to how to record and write the IC balance sheet, straight away. But as I've said, I start to be interested in intellectual capital from the knowledge management perspective. So I would try to explore what we can make use of IC. Now, IC, of course, is basically an asset, right? Actually, it has many names, either in English or Chinese, large asset, intangibles, so on and so forth. But I think more or less this refer to the same. But as you have rightly pointed out, not all people, even people in the business, in the bank, commercial sector, understand what is the use of the IC. They think it's a terminology, right? Asset, well, that's it. We talk about financial asset, non-financial asset. So why you need this word now? So that's why we'll come up to the point of knowledge management. And how I started, I have to ask, what are the most fear, in doing a business? Fear is deal with what? Risk, right? And actually, you talk about knowledge management to any boss or your, any people in business, they will not be interested. But if you talk about them, do you know what are the risks in your company? Of course, there are many risks, operational risk, financial risk. But you said that. Do you know how much? What is the most usable asset in your organization? Then you can start, from this point. Ask yourself, do you know what's the most important asset? Well, then people say, my staff. And I don't think people will say my cash, my cash in the bank, because usually those are available, right? But is the staff the only important asset? Then I would say, how about your knowledge? How about your network? Where are they? Can you name them? Right? So on and so forth. Now, so let's see how I start, even knowledge management. Now, KM, knowledge management, or even IC, is usually thought to be as what? A topic only for the big enterprise, large organization. But actually not. We start with an SME, with a small, medium enterprise. Now, I start a very small piece of work in a trading company. Do you know, Hong Kong used to be very good at trading. But do you know what's trading? You purchase some component at a margin and sell this, to your customer. Then your profit margin is only about 5%, at most 10%, right? So this is not the way now trading is being done. What do you add? Knowledge. But where the knowledge come from? That is the main point, right? You just don't add just the profit margin, 10%, and then you can sell it successfully to your client. No, not nowadays. It must be value added. Ask a lot of business people, the word value is always, almost become, a common word. But where this value come from? And from small enterprise, it must become from the knowledge. The knowledge, include a lot of things. Now, the trading company which we are working is a electronic component trading company. They try to acquire the most updated component from Taiwan, Japan, Germany, of course, maybe from USA. And they try to sell it to the end user, who may be making, a mobile, radio, electronic operators, So they will understand, the user requirement, and they have to able to introduce them what the latest technology, what the latest component, right? And that's why, yeah, in office, it's very interesting. Uh, it's a very small firm. They have something about 30 staff, but very few stay in office. Where are they? They're traveling everywhere. Of course, sorry, not nowadays because of the pandemic. Now they can't travel much. But in old day, they travel everywhere except in Hong Kong, right?
Mm.
Japan, Taiwan, Germany, Cyber, Tokyo, Brazil, right? They're looking for customer and looking for the supplier. So how does the manager of the company manage all these people? They never met. They only use email. Of course, nowadays social media. Of course, they have their own in-house social media to work with. So that's why we will build them a very dynamic taxonomy, so they can keep track of every project. Now, the company used to extract the most important information. Well, I will not spend time to differentiate information, knowledge, and data because this will almost another uh, full lecture. But all the important information, that is the important asset as well. So that's why they have to store and keep this asset, in their in the email. But that's why we build with them a dynamic taxonomy. They extract the most frequent used word, and the boss can have access to know what are the most current project the staff are doing, right? So actually we try to extract the information, we classify them, and then we share with them. But these are some of the example of variable asset, which is not static but mobile. So how to keep track of it, right? There's some important intellectual capital in working.
Wow. And so how do you put a value on this intellectual capital? Because it's very important, because with this knowledge, if an individual unfortunately leaves the company or dies, their knowledge goes with them. So how do you capture it and how do you value it?
Yeah, that's why they use the most email as a correspondence. So that's why, of course, they have to keep copies, and also they have to extract, using text mining, extract the keyword. For example, if there are two staff, who are dealing with two different clients, and they want to purchase the same kind of component. Now, you can group all this order together, then you can ask for a bigger discount from the supplier.
Okay.
And unless you can only do this if you know have the information.
Yes.
There are several clients, are looking for the same component, right? But if the people are working in isolated manner, they will miss their chance. So they can, try to negotiate a better deal, when they can purchase in large quantity. But this is just a simple example. Sometimes when they learn from the client, some new product, and they require some new component, and so happen if they have the information and knowledge, from the supplier, then they can make use of the information, immediately. So that's why the speed at which information and knowledge can flow is a very important ingredient for their success.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
in your time, I give you a very second example, which is a bigger organization, a electric motor manufacturer, which is one of the biggest electric motor manufacturer in the whole world. It almost manufacture about 1/4 of the mini motor. Now, if you open any toy or anything moving in your car, you can find their almost motor. Now, how they're doing the business now? Actually, I talked with the boss. They told me, sorry, Wong-Bin, we are not making any more motor.
Wow.
What does that mean? In making the motor, I tell you, the profit margin is very low. Those are small motor, just like a 2 inches or 4 inches, or even just a several centimeter. This is small miniature motor. So they look to produce in very large quantity. And the profit margin sometimes only can be 5% or 2%.
Okay.
So later they change the business model. We help the customer to design motor, right, to meet their application. So they have the account manager, which are responsible for each client, like motor company, for example, GM, or like toys manufacturer, uh, uh, so on and so forth. So they change from manufacturing motor to what? Selling knowledge of making motor, of using motor. So
Yeah.
how you can sell knowledge? Then you must have something to sell. Where is the knowledge? Here, the brain.
Yes.
So they have established themselves what they call a pool of what? Engineer, and change in the form of what they call the AOE. What is AOE? It means area of excellency, right? So they have to their knowledge of the motor into different expertise, like electromagnetic component, the spindle, the magnetic part, the application. I just example, so on and so forth. So they have different area, like almost up to 19 or 20 special area. And each area they have grouped their expert, right, and give the name expertise. Now, so they create a platform through which the client, approve the client, they have access, to the platform. And what is inside platform? There's what? Document, patent, design, and also they have a workroom. Now, if they find some interesting project, they can call up the chief engineer and say, "Can we have a meeting?" Right? So, what does the salesman do? They carry just a notebook, and they, when they meet a client, they open the notebook and say, "What do you want, sir?" Right? So they are doing the business at the same time while they are doing their marketing, right? So they try to receive the order, and what they are selling, actually knowledge. How about manufacturing? I think I don't have to tell you, manufacturing is so standard. It was all done in Dongguan in China, almost the electronic manufacturing hub of China.
Oh.
But in making manufacturing, I tell you, the profit margin is very, very low. That's why Apple, I tell you, can make such a huge profit. Yeah.
Wow.
Don't blame China steal all your manufacturing job. Almost the highly paid job at R&D are well added selling. So I think this is well understood nowadays. So this is linked up to the very good point. That's why intellectual capital, the building of intellectual capital becomes so important for a modern business.
Yes.
You are not just a small shop doing some simple trading. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Professor W.B. Lee out of Hong Kong, who is one of the gurus and experts in intellectual capital. And so, W.B., when we think about the assets of a company, Areopa is looking to establish an intellectual asset banking model. Do you feel that having this intellectual capital to be valued, will it be on a company's balance sheet as an asset?
You're referring to the IC accounting methodology of Areopa, right?
Yes.
Yes. I have changed actually. I invite Mr. Ludus to have a course, a seminar in Hong Kong, and that is quite well attended. But there is one small question: is that you want to do a very comprehensive IC accounting? It's not an easy job. Actually, I admire Areopa. They do such a good technique, and the kind of IC accounting, producing the IC balance sheet, can be very meaningful for some very big organization. But again, my interest is in SME.
Yes.
So, and the IC accounting needs a lot of expertise, engineer to work for almost several months, and I don't think any small SME can afford it. So I think the next move is try to what? How to make the IC accounting model accessible to SME to help their small business, then this will be a great promotion.
Yes, yes. Do you feel that this will allow SMEs to get better financing if the intellectual capital is added as part of their assets?
Oh yes, I've helped the Hong Kong, the intellectual property department of the Hong Kong government to launch what they call a IC Lite, LITE, IC Lite project. We recruit almost a dozen consultants to help the SME to try to write an IC report. Right? We have a standard format, and we can give them a coaching just within one day. They know what IC and then what the content, and then they start to write their own IC report. And if they have any question, they can give us a call, and we have people to answer their questions. So after about 2 weeks, then they produce their IC report, and then we send our consultant to look at them and try to improve them. And actually, we have a small competition. Who can write the best IC report? Now, also the second step is that, as you have said, how that can link up to getting financial support. So we have been trying to link up with some bank sector, how to give them a credit or discount or lower interest rate for those people who have a very good track record, of intellectual capital management or launch management. So, but I think that project is on a very small scale, and actually we need more people to be interested to try to have more bank to join this scheme, and this may exert some further impact. But there's a lot of work still need to be done.
A lot of work to be done, and no doubt about it. How does for the CEO of a SME that's hearing this for the first time, and it strikes a chord with them, how do they get started in understanding their intellectual capital?
Yeah, well, I think the best way to start is to analyze, understand what is the knowledge risk facing the company. Well, how much time do I left? How much time?
Oh, we have 7 minutes.
You say now. So then maybe I jump to introduce my book.
Okay, let's do that.
You want to know more?
Yes.
You want to know more about the full story of knowledge risk?
Yes.
Recently, I've just published a book called Knowledge Risk and its Mitigation, with a lot of cases and practices. Well, actually, as you have heard from me so far, although I'm working in academy, I would actually on practical things. I don't give very just vague theory. I want example, cases,
yes.
practices, right? So my book is full of practices, and actually, Europa is one of the contributor of the chapter, right? Now, so you talk about knowledge risk. I tell you, they understand, right? And then I actually have firstly a simple questionnaire, right? Not too complicated. As complicated as the Europa, it can be done for subsequent stages, right? So I've identified what kind of knowledge is going to be lost, right? Also what kind of knowledge is to be obsolete, and what kind of knowledge is insufficient, what kind of knowledge to be replenished. So they have done a very a questionnaire, and then I can have some simple index to tell them you are at risk or you are borderline. So just to alert them. So if they can realize their inadequacy, their risk, then they will listen to my second part. That's what, do a large audit. Or of course, if you look at from the intellectual capital perspective, an IC audit. Actually, in my book, I cover both the large audit and the IC audit. Well, what's the difference between the IC audit and a large audit? Well, now a lot of people know about financial audit, right? Because it's almost compulsory sometimes, by legal requirement. But you understand. But firstly, actually, I advise to do an IC audit, and actually, it's detailed in my book. Now, when you do the IC audit, it means what? What are your intellectual capital, relation capital, and share capital? But that's not sufficient. So even though I have this and then structural capital, but you know what are the detail, right? Then you have to do a knowledge audit to find the exact knowledge item that are they are shared among many people, or they're missing, or they're inadequate. So that's why first we advise to do an overall IC audit, and then we come to a very second deep level of knowledge audit that deal with individual knowledge items. So they're step by step. And I think through this awareness of knowledge risk, we can increase people's awareness of intellectual capital management.
Yes, 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 yes. And where can we find your book?
Oh, it's published by Emerald, EMERAD, the UK publisher.
Yes,
very easy. You just type Amazon or the Google knowledge risk and its mitigation. You don't have to type my name, and then you can find it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Because we want to make sure that we promote this your book to our audience as well.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. And so, what is next? What do you think is the next challenge for folks who are involved in intellectual capital? What do we need to do as a community to progress the practice of intellectual capital valuation?
Well, from the business perspective, I think we really have to talk to the government and accounting people. And I think what's happening now is what people are going to promote the use of so-called integrated IC, integrated reporting. That's what, to combine the financial part and the non-financial part, right? So the non-financial part is basically the IC component. Now, also, actually, I am doing also some project. Do you know the MAKE Award, which was launched almost 20 years ago by Laurie, MAKE, the most admirable large enterprise. Now, he has retired, and I continue his work, but we changed the name into MIKE, MIKE.
Okay.
Innovative Knowledge Enterprise Award.
Yes.
Now, the point why I want to mention this is that this is a global award which has been now participated by more than 15 countries in different continents, right? I think now except Africa. Actually, in the States, E&Y is also one of the key supporters. Now, in this MAKE Award, I use the IC framework, intellectual capital framework, to build up the criteria. So this is another perspective how to introduce, IC to the general public. Yeah.
Very good. Well, what final words would you like to leave with our audience? We're at the close of our interview, which has been extraordinary. Thank you.
Oh,
what are some of the final words that you would like to leave with our audience about intellectual capital?
Oh, yes. In this world, everything is connected. Nothing is isolated. So we have to be, open-minded and try to accept, new methodology, and of course, try to don't miss yours. There are Gunter's, radio channel, and you can learn more about what is IC gradually with different people. Yeah, connect with different people. That's an important relation capital, which we need to build every day. Thank you.
Professor W.B. Lee, I want to thank you for making time. As you're in Hong Kong, we have a 12-hour difference. This is the evening for him. It's the morning for us, which we're greatly appreciative of coming on our program. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I also enjoy very much talking with you this evening. Take care and see you in future.
That, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up for this week on Leadership with Darrell W. Gunter on WSOU 89.5 FM. We want you to have a great weekend, but remember, leadership begins with you. Have a great day.